Welcome to the 5. Today is August 2nd, and the 5 things you need to know about today: Florida and COVID-19, because of course, Florida. Two companies you might not have heard of, but you probably use or have used: Square and Afterpay getting into one company, some sports gaming news, Tucker Carlson and Seth McFarlane, Family Guy, and one of the biggest new movies, Jungle Cruise. Starting with the first topic, Florida and COVID-19. So, as another wave of COVID seems to grip our country and parts of the world, 21,600 new COVID cases Friday in Florida, the highest single day total since the beginning of the pandemic. Good record, Florida. And let's see, this infections, the week still 110,000 in the week and over 400 deaths last week. So, all great news. Sarcasm, right? What is wrong with Florida? I will go on record. There's only one good thing in Florida, and it's Disney World. There's nothing else good in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Florida is one of those frustrating states. But yeah, I don't know. I think this just goes to show that how getting vaccinated is important. The fact that, what do they say, deaths are roughly up, like what, 75%?
Let's see. Deaths across the U.S., which typically lag with infections, has risen about 75% month to month kind of thing.
Yeah. So the unvaccinated is the problem here, and when you got a state where there's a lot of people that are not vaccinated, there's going to be a lot of cases and a lot of deaths in that state. And Florida is a good example of that. I don't really know what else to say. I just hope people take this news and take this data and actually consider getting vaccinated if they haven't already. I mean, it's getting more and more serious. It's getting worse, and it looks like we're not really heading towards the closure. Right, they're not going to let things close down so soon. So people are going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to go out to the general public sometimes when you're going to the grocery store or anywhere else. You're going to have to deal with this. So you got to get vaccinated if you want to stay safe.
Now, it's not on here, but I don't know if you heard, but in the same group of news as what's wrong with Florida, the governor signed an executive order here about this last week.
Oh, yeah?
So like most places in the country, kids are going back to school either now or soon in the coming weeks. Florida, one of them, of course. And all these districts are figuring out how to deal with masks and things like that, because somehow that became political, whole different conversation. But, so executive order gets signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, barring school districts from mandating masks. Because of course, that's a smart idea.
You're right. It's like everything.
What is wrong with Florida? Florida, you're the problem.
Yeah, it's like everything, like professional scientists, doctors, everything, like these people know what they're doing. They know what they're saying. It's like they're not giving them any credibility whatsoever. It's like anything a scientist says ever, people in Florida are just like, no, we won't do that. We don't believe in that. We're going to do something else.
I think it's a strange time in the world where people choose to not believe in science.
Yeah.
It's just a strange time in the world.
I just don't.
And it applies to more than just math and the virus.
It's like choosing not to believe in math. Like it's factual stuff, like off of stronger data than anything else that you've gone off of.
It's like if someone says, so I have 5 fingers here and 5 fingers here, I think that's 10, but I'm not sure I'm going to believe the science that there are actually 10 fingers here.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It's just, I don't know. Yeah, people, they come make up these statements or whatever, but what is it based off of? What are your beliefs based off of?
Feelings.
Is it off of feelings, a hunch? That's not enough. Like literally, if everybody did that, our medical system, everything, school, education, everything would just be an absolute mess. You can't go off feelings because, yeah, you are right sometimes, but actually a lot of times you're probably wrong.
And what an interesting thing too, in a place like so you're trying to have kids go to school, which is objectively a good idea. And so you're trying to teach them things like math, science, and arithmetic, and things like that, while disregarding science.
It makes it's so frustrating.
It's frustrating.
It's like they're just they're so hell bent on just one side of the narrative, or just the fact that this is all fake, that it was actually just some kind of conspiracy and blah blah blah, and it's not. Like this has been going on for almost a couple years already. we have so much data that proves that this is actually really serious, that it's real, and then there's actually ways to prevent getting sick, and they show you how to do it. Social distance, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Schools should be wearing masks, in my opinion, because there's little kids. A lot of kids are not even eligible to get vaccinated yet.
Under 12.
Yeah, they're not even.
A lot of kids.
There's a lot of kids that are not even eligible yet. So you got to think about them. And the fact that Florida just said, "Oh, the heck with those kids that are under 12. We're not even going to worry about them." I feel like that is actually a slap in the face to almost every parent in Florida.
Yeah, it is really. It's just hard to. It's hard to understand.
Yeah, honestly, if I was a parent, I don't know why I would stay in that state. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's good people in Florida, so that's overgeneralization. But in a statement, the only thing good in Florida is Disney World. Disney World, fantastic. Everything outside of that, it's not.
They got great. I like their beaches. I will go to their beaches.
Lots of places have beaches.
Yeah, that's true.
But they do have pretty beaches there.
Yeah.
That's okay. And nice beaches.
I do enjoy looking at the palm trees.
All right, taking a turn. So two companies. So Square has agreed to acquire the company Afterpay for $29 billion in an all-stock deal. Now you might not really have heard of either of these companies very much, and that's understandable. But but it's representative of a lot of things that are trending and coming and happening. So Square, pretty much a payment processor, companies that take like 3% when you swipe a card somewhere, or you pay with your MasterCard somewhere. Some company takes about 2 to 3% of that transaction and then gets divvied up amongst people along the way for issuing cards, etc. So Square is one of those companies, a payment processor, but is acquiring Afterpay, which is we've talked about these companies before, where you pretty much slice a purchase into 4 equal installments. So pretty much you pay 25% now, and then oftentimes it's like 2 weeks later, the next 25%, 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And you pay no interest if you pay in that amount of time. If any of those get declined, then you pay interest, is the general gist of it. But that's an interesting step, because now you have payment processors starting to acquire and expand into several like slice it up, buy now, pay later type options.
Yeah.
And they claim, so Afterpay claims that they're a little more responsible than typical just like buy with credit cards, rack up interest, because they say that if you miss any of those automatic, equally interest-free slices, then your account is locked until like further review kind of thing. So you can't just keep buying. Like if you miss one of these payments, then you're cut off at least for some amount of time until we can figure out what to do better, which might be more responsible at least than just generic credit card debt.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. There's not much else really in here. All that.
So it's basically just credit is what it's geared towards. It's credit. It's like the bill me later option that Walmart has. It's
yeah.
So okay, I was thinking like something along the lines of like Apple Pay, where it was like a check. You just check out and it's like instant. But I guess it's completely different. Where Apple Pay, that runs off of your debit card and it's instant from your bank, where this is just straight up credit.
Yeah, credit, yeah. And then you pretty much only pay like 25% up front, which is neither here nor there, but 25% up front. And then along the way, like equal interest-free slices. Yeah. They tend to be like 4 total payments today, and then 2 weeks after that, and 3 times.
Yeah. So they add on percentages to your purchase for them to profit.
Only if you miss the automatic payment. So like you have an option, which being responsible is not always the worst idea if you can spread out payments over a longer time, interest free.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for many, many people. If you can do that, it's often not a bad idea, but it's easier said than done. So like if somebody misses a payment, then the interest stuff starts versus interest accruing right away.
That makes sense.
So interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting.
But more buy now, pay later stuff, equal slices, all that is only going to be more. It's not going to be less. Yeah. Next topic, something I don't know a whole lot about, sports. I do know a little more about gambling and things like that. So what is this deal with Evander Kane, San Jose Sharks?
I guess his strange wife went on Twitter and accused him of sports betting and betting on his own team and games that he was a part of, which is, we talked about this a few weeks before. We talked about how sports betting was becoming more and more legal, and that was one of our concerns during that, that recording was, this could spawn into a problem where players start getting accused of throwing games.
Yeah.
This is, honestly, I would not be surprised if we see a lot more of this going on in the future with sports betting actually becoming legal. The fact that now this person, could be innocent, he's just being accused of this. That doesn't mean he's guilty or whatsoever. But like the fact that all it takes is an athlete's wife or angry wife or angry girlfriend to just go on Twitter and accuse them, and now NHL has to open up an entire investigation and take this seriously because if he's potentially throwing games, that's a big deal. That's a big crime right there. So I would not be surprised if we see this more and more going forward.
Yeah, so he, let's see, so his estranged wife named Anna Kane had written on Instagram Saturday that he's a compulsive gambling addict and he's, quote, obviously throwing games to win money. And NHL, like you said, has investigated, so I guess he filed bankruptcy protection in January and had enlisted $1.5 million in gambling debts, and also was sued by the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas for $500,000 for failing to pay back credit extended to him. So hard to say he's not a gambler. Now gambling on himself is proven out a lot of the sports betting stuff, because there is, as sports betting is becoming more legal, I think people are going to probably choose that route more than otherwise just because it's slicker and easier. But there is some identity review type thing. So if someone named Evander Kane puts a bunch of money in a Jose Sharks game, it might raise a red flag.
That is true. I don't know. His track record honestly does not make him. That really, if you were to read that in front of a jury in court, that's a heavily one-sided argument. I feel kind of bad for him because he's kind of like he's looking guilty before he's actually proven guilty, which is unfortunate. But hopefully that's not the case. But I was sports betting. I'm all for sports betting. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that it's legal and people can actually do it and do it safely and stuff like that. But I definitely think it's going to be an issue though with people that are actually playing it and can actually swing games, and see a lot more athletes going to get accused and stuff like that. And especially since all it takes. So easy. All she did was go on Instagram. And she didn't submit any proof. She didn't have any actual evidence whatsoever. But the fact that she said that, now the NHL is going to look into everything he did. His history is going to get thrown out all over the news. And now he's already looking like the bad guy. Now, the court of public opinion already has this guy as a massive sports betting addict, and he's probably throwing games, and he should be locked in jail. That's what they're thinking without any evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
4 on today. So you might have heard of Seth MacFarlane. You probably have heard of Family Guy. Also a news person, Tucker Carlson on Fox News. A little bit of the right side. He's the rightest of the right that Fox News has to say.
Yeah.
So, but both are big under the big corporate Fox umbrella type thing. So Seth MacFarlane, who's done Family Guy for 19 seasons, has stuff on Fox, including Family Guy and American Dad. And I guess Tucker Carlson, who has lots of interesting, mostly false things to say. For example, he's repeatedly that's a double. He said repeatedly that Fauci created the pandemic, has compared vaccines to sterilization, and lobbying teachers to wear body cams to ensure they don't teach critical race theory. So it gives you a gist of who this man is.
Psychopath?
Yeah, it gives you a gist of who this guy is.
Yeah.
But I guess obviously critical of lots of stuff, as many cable news people are all around. But I guess Seth MacFarlane's thinking he might want to change or move Family Guy because he's tired of kind of being under the same big umbrella as that, which might be easier said than done because there's probably some contract in place.
Yeah, lots of money in place or whatever. And Family Guy is a ratings booster for Fox. I can't see Fox letting that go without a fight. That would be a big blow to Fox, in my opinion. But then here we go again. Lack of evidence, lack of proof. What proof does Tucker Carlson have on Dr. Fauci doing these things. Like,
None.
There is none. There is none. This guy was just hired by Fox News to just run off at the mouth and just say whatever extreme things he can to make people on the left upset. And that's what happened here. He made Seth McFarlane upset, and Seth McFarlane's like, well, I want to take my show and I want to go elsewhere because you're making me look bad, even though we're in a different division, we're under the same umbrella. But you know what though? I mean, that always serves right, because if it was the other way around, say if Seth McFarlane committed a crime, say he did something bad or whatever, Fox News will be like, we do not want to associate with Seth McFarlane, blah, blah, blah. That works both ways. So good for Seth McFarlane being like, hey, like, I don't support their views. I don't like how they make me look. I am going to consider going elsewhere. And then also sticking up for people that actually have evidence and proof when they say things. They don't just say it just to say it. So I like Seth McFarlane for that, for sticking up for actual evidence and actually having proof.
Yeah. Two things about this are interesting to me. One, doesn't it seem strange that I think people know when they watch Fox News what they're getting. Yeah. And I think people know when they watch Family Guy what they're getting. And you think about the kind of things that Fox, like a TV station, will air versus the kind of things that Fox News airs, and they seem often so different. And it seems strange to be kind of under the same name. That's one thing. But two, I remember a couple years ago, it was on a TMZ thing. This was probably before I got married, probably like 15 years ago. It was a while ago. But Seth MacFarlane had just signed like some big monster contract for Family Guy with Fox to do it for like 5 or 10 years, some long thing. And it was something ridiculous, like one of those obscene amounts of money, like $100 million contract, something like that. But then Seth MacFarlane, so he goes to some club like the next day after the news broke, like in Hollywood or something like that, as Hollywood types do. And the bouncer didn't know who he was and wasn't going to let him in. So TMZ is watching this interaction, and then they're like, you know who that is? They're like, the bouncer's nope. So like, do one of the voices. So he does like it was Stewie or Brian or something like that. He does, which is Brian's his regular voice. Yeah. Like Peter Griffin, he says, oh, I know who you are. And everybody about it got a big laugh out of it. Yeah. And like, it's interesting because I think a lot of people probably wouldn't recognize him, but they probably recognize a voice that he does.
Right.
Voice actors. He also, people give him a hard time that he pretty much only does Family Guy to give him an excuse to sing and do music. There's always songs.
Honestly, yes, I feel like Seth MacFarlane could have a career as a singer if he wanted to.
Yeah,
he really could. He's actually a really good singer. And, I just think he's this really funny guy. I feel like Family Guy is basically his personality put into a show.
Yeah, I guess pretty much only him.
Yeah, right.
All right, and last but not least, so Jungle Cruise, one of the many pandemic delayed movies that finally came out. The Rock and what's her name again?
Emily
Blunt. Let's see, had a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes movie rating system, which is the highest audience score he's ever had. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, really good. I believe it. I actually saw it.
You saw it was pretty good?
I actually saw it, and it is really good. Visually, it was really well directed. The cinematography is one of the best I've ever seen. Especially coming from like a Disney film, they usually are really good anyways. But this is actually really good. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is very entertaining in the movie. Does a really good job. It is pretty entertaining throughout, and it's actually really cool though because like this is the highest, and I think the other two closest that he's gotten that were like in the 80s one was Jumanji and the other one was Moana.
Yeah, both good movies in their own ways. And it also mentions, let's see, that Disney's probably trying to make a little bit of something kind of like The Mummy, because The Mummy came out like 20-something years ago, the first one. Yeah. People liked it a whole lot, and they could make, of course, typical studio style, bunch of sequels, a whole universe they could bring in and keep on going. We'll see what happens. Wasn't there like a Mummy remake with Tom Cruise in the last few years? Something like that?
I'm
like
not
all
sure.
reimagining. It's not even
I think so. Thing. Yeah, there was one with Tom Cruise. It was not. I didn't see it. I'm not sure if that's in the same universe or the same. It might be. I have no idea. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So time will tell. But yeah, so that was scheduled for release last year, got pushed back, COVID-19, big surprise there. And that one, so on the heels, a couple things that I just thought of. So it was the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit thing, which with what is a theatrical release and contractual money and what do you get on the back end.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes you wonder with a lot of these things that are now being released in theaters and on especially Disney Plus simultaneously, like this movie, what kind of contracts they had in place, how they compare to what with the Avengers, because it was Emma Stone from Cruella. They were saying might also do some kind of lawsuit from a similar.
And they didn't say names, but they were saying other actors were actually considering it too. They didn't say what names they were or whatever, but that is a huge blunder by Disney. Oh my gosh, that is such a. How did they not see this coming? How did they not read the contracts? Like,
how did none of these lawyers see this coming? And maybe it did, and it was too late. I don't know. They might have said it's going to be a problem, but everything's already signed.
It was like when they announced that they were going to go to Disney Plus. They didn't even consider what the actors might think of that. It was like, well, it's our product. We're in charge. We're going to play it wherever, and they didn't even think about what was an agreement with the actors that were in the movie who do make a lot of money. So they're expected to make a lot of money. So they have every right to be upset if they don't feel like they're getting their full cut. So this was actually and it was so frustrating because this could have been avoided before they even announced it was going straight to Disney Plus. Like, they could have actually reworked the contract, or actually just pay them. Just pay them what they got. Give them a portion of the Disney Plus sales and stuff like that, and then call it a day. I don't know why they chose to just kind of go the shady route, but they did, and now look where they are. I mean, can you imagine The Rock who's suing Disney? How bad that's going to make them look.
And I wonder too, because he's a force, right? In many ways, in more ways than one. But I read something a couple years ago too, because he has obviously a huge social media presence, and that part of these team of lawyers that iron out contracts for things, part of them is how much he'll push it on his own following online, pretty much like the writers they call him for like concerts and stuff, like the social media writer, what he has to do, like how many posts, he has to talk about it, what's he gonna push and all this, because he has, I don't have the numbers here, but like 100 million people that follow him in various degrees online, which is substantial. And like, so you think about a movie like this and money that comes in and I mean, The Rock's big, Disney's big. Like, when big players ever come to terms, you end up with the big result, I guess.
I just can't help believe. But this is definitely going to affect someone's job. Like, this was definitely a misoversight, right? Attorneys all across the board, they should have saw this as being a potential problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so crazy that no one stopped and thought about this. Like, oh wait, they have contracts that said these are theater only. You know, so why would they choose to go the Disney Plus route then? Why would they not think that Scarlett Johansson would sue if she's losing money?
Well, I don't know how many people have actually seen the contracts, because what I had seen before was talking about how it was going to be a theatrical release. But is that solely or only that? Or, because it's hard to argue it wasn't released in theaters, it had a theatrical release.
It did.
But what does that mean? And I think the evolution of what that phrase means has changed a lot in the last few years.
But do you think, though, some on the outside looking in might look at that as a bad business, just doing bad business, like you're not doing right by the other party? Some people then may not want to do business with you anymore because...
You're right. It's also hard to feel bad for someone that made 20 instead of $30 million. It's also hard to, boo, cry me a river. And your river made of diamonds and gold.
Right. I mean, that's true. They're getting paid regardless. They're a lot more money than the average worker, so it is hard to feel sorry for them. But we are where we are.
Karma and the brand. The whole thing. So recapping today's 5 for August 2nd, Florida and COVID-19, Square and Afterpay, payments and pay later stuff, sports betting, more people that are getting betting on their own games, whether that guy did or not, I'm sure it's going to happen. Tucker Carlson, Seth McFarlane, Fox News, Family Guy, and Jungle Cruise, pretty good movie. And why do no lawyers understand contracts in the Disney and the actor world? And joining me as always was Ben on my right, Tyler here. Thank you for watching and for listening.
Later.